Okay, so we are now on Daf Kuf Amud Aleph, 100 in Psachim, Psachim, page 100, Amud Aleph. What we are looking at now is a machloket that we have discussed yesterday about when you're not allowed to eat on Erev Pesach. And we decided yesterday that we had a little discussion about how this works out. And there's an argument between Rav Huna and Rav Papa. None of this is important today because we came to the conclusion yesterday that Rav Huna was right. And in fact, there is no argument about Erev Pesach. On Erev Pesach, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi both agree, and this is what I've written down in this screen, they both agree that in fact you can not eat on Erev Pesach. There's no argument there at all. However, there is an argument on every other Shabbat during the year and every other Erev Yom Tov during the year when there is an argument. Only Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to eat on Erev Pesach, on Erev Shabbat. And on Pesach, everybody agrees. That's how we left it. That was the opinion of Rav Huna, and everything seemed to work out just fine according to Rav Huna yesterday. But today, we're going to find out that there might be a problem. Things might not be quite so clear cut, because we said at the end, we finished yesterday by saying everything's fine according to Rabbi. Everything doesn't work out according to Rav Papa, but it might work according to Rav Huna. And now we're about 5 lines from the top of the page. It says, Ularav Huna minicha, and is everything fine according to Rav Huna? Does everything really work out according to Rav Huna? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, V'itema Amar Rabbi Abahu, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Bar Rabbi Chanina. Okay, it doesn't matter who those Rabbanim are for the time being, but what's important is what they actually say. Listen carefully to what they say. They say, Halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda be'erev Pesach, v'halacha ka Rabbi Yossi be'erev Shabbat. Okay. So what they've actually said here is Halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda be'erev Pesach. That's fine, okay? But Halacha ka Rabbi Yossi be'erev Shabbat. That's also fine until you stop and think about it. If what I said is correct, and there's only an argument in the case of Shabbat and Yom Tov, then that makes sense. There should be an argument in the case of Shabbat and Yom Tov. And therefore, you have to say who the halacha is. You say halacha is according to Rabbi Yossi be'erev Shabbat. That makes sense because it means that there's an argument. We have to decide who's the who, which is fine. I have no problem with that part of this statement. However, it also says halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda be'erev Pesach. But we just said there's no argument Erev Pesach. If there's no argument Erev Pesach, why do we need to say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? Of course it's like Rabbi Yehuda because there's no argument. If it's like Rabbi Yehuda, it's also like Rabbi Yossi. That's the problem that we're trying to discuss here, right? Clearly, we didn't understand it fully because whoever decided what the halacha was is saying that there was some kind of an argument in the case of Pesach as well. So we're trying to work out what's going on here. And they say, the Gemara comes and answers. It says, Halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda be'erev Pesach. That's fine. We understand that. There's an argument, the halacha is according to Rabbi Yehuda be'erev Pesach. Miklal de Palig, Rabbi Yossi. But Ravayu, that would imply that Rabbi Yossi is arguing about both cases. No, it says, Lo. Halacha miklal de Pligi behafsaka. What they're saying here is there is an argument. There's an argument only in the case of mafsikin. And that's what I put up here now, right? Rabbi Yehuda, mafsikin means if you've already started eating, do you stop eating? If you're in the middle of a meal, you have a meal on Friday afternoon, you've got a wedding or something Friday afternoon, and the wedding feast is going on, and it takes a long time, and the wedding feast goes on till past 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is 9 hours, right? 9 hours, and it's gone on a little long. Do we have to stop the wedding right now because it's already past 9 o'clock? That's where the machloket is. That's where there's an argument, okay, even on Erev Pesach about this issue, right? Rabbi Yehuda says, yes, we have to stop at 9 o'clock, even if you're in the middle of a meal. Rabbi Yossi says, no, you don't have to stop. All right, I understand that you don't start, but you don't have to stop if you're in the middle of a meal on Erev Pesach. That's what the argument is about. Okay, so when they say halacha ka Rabbi Yossi be'erev Pesach, what they're saying is that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi on Erev Pesach, which is on Rabbi Yossi, or on Erev Pesach, you do, the Halakha Rabbi Yehuda on Erev Pesach, you do stop on Erev Pesach, you do. But on a regular Shabbat, if you go to a wedding on a regular Friday and the wedding goes on a little bit long and it goes past nine hours on a Friday, then you do not need to stop on a regular one. And that's what this statement by Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina is. He's saying that the halacha is only according to Rabbi Yehuda on Pesach, which means only according to you only have to stop eating on Pesach. You don't have to stop eating on every Erev Yom Tov and Erev Shabbat. So we shall carry on the Mishnah, the Gemara. The Gemara carries on, and it says, Umaaseh, there was actually a very famous the Tanya. Oh, hang on, I'm just reading it through. The Tanya mafsikim b'Shabbatot l'divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi omer ein mafsikim, and there's actually a brighter that says very clearly what we just said. That Rabbi Yossi says that you don't stop on Erev Pesach, and Rabbi Yehuda says that you do stop on Erev. Oh no, sorry, beg your pardon. The brighter that says that Rabbi Yehuda says you do stop on Erev Shabbat, and Rabbi Yossi says you don't stop on Erev Shabbat. In fact, there's a very famous story in the Gemara here. Apparently, very famous for them. It was very famous. That went as follows: Maaseh Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel was going to eat at his friend Rabbi Yehuda's house. For Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and they were all eating together. Shayu Masubin ba'Akko, and they went to a meal in Akko where they were living. Okay, the Kadesh Mayom. So in the middle of eating, Shabbos comes in the middle of their meal. Shabbos comes in the middle of the meal that they're eating. Kadesh Lemayom. By the way, if you think about it, if Shabbos is coming in, that means it must have been later than 9 hours before they started eating. So it has to be that they weren't going according to Rabbi Yehuda this era of Shabbos. So they said what happens was Kadesh Lemayom. So it comes in. Shabbos comes in. Amar le Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says to Rabbi Yossi. He says to his friend Rabbi Yossi. He says, "Rabbi." He says, "Rabbeinu." He says he gives him his name of title, and he says, "Rabbi, I'm going to ask you a question, Rabbi." He says, should we be worried about Rabbi Yehuda, who says we should have stopped? Right? Should we stop now, just in case Rabbi Yehuda is right? He says this to Rabbi Yossi, you understand. Rabbi Yossi is the big argument. He has a big argument with Rabbi Yehuda. So he says to Rabbi Yossi, well, do you think we should stop just in case Rabbi Yehuda is right? Amar lo. Rabbi Yehuda said, so Rabbi Shimon Gamliel asks Rabbi Yehuda, should we worry about, Rabbi Yossi, should we worry about Rabbi Yehuda? This is what he's asking, which is a crazy question because Rabbi Yehuda is